Hello and welcome to Season 3 of the FRS. I am your host Ohe and I'm delighted to be bringing you round 1 of the PC Division 1 Championship in Brazil. For a couple of months off, a lot of our drivers have been able to recharge and get their practice in for this coming season, and we have over 100 new faces in our 13 divisions now as we come into Season 3. Of course, we've gone through a little bit of a rebrand. We've change the paint a little bit, and we're hoping to bring you some brilliant new action over the next 4 months. So, welcome to this opening race of the FRS season. It's a Friday night. We've got all of our entertainment ready. I am joined, of course, by the wonderful Mr. Mark Hopkins for this race. How are you, Mark?
Yeah, doing good. It's the start of a new season. It's going to be great. We've got a lot of, a lot of new drivers. I mean, more than double, and we've got an inter-divisional championship now. So if you earn points for AlphaTauri, that works all the way down from Division 1 all the way down to Division 8. It's going to be interesting to see how that championship unfolds over the season.
Absolutely. As you can see, the current standings for PC Division 1, it's very tight at the top right now. 0 points separating our top 19 drivers in this division.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, we see our driver lineup here. For the opening round, we have some very interesting teams there. Fraser and VTech in the AlphaTauris is going to be one to watch out for. An Iranian champion, Silver Arrow 27, currently in a lone spot in that Mercedes-Benz team, but I'm sure he'll do a great job of carrying the Silver Arrow to where it needs to be on the grid.
Got a lot of very strong drivers staying. Silver Arrow, obviously, as you said, champion. Fraser is the guy for the setups. VTech Panda knows how to last any tires, any amount of time. But we've also got a couple of older Div 2 guys like Weltering and Crusoe that have moved up. Gabriel moved up last season as well.
Absolutely. As we look down to the second half of our grid for PC Division 1 here, we have... Do you know about Elliot? I think it's going to be a very interesting team in the racing points, and one to watch out for here, Fast Six driver in the Ferrari, is a driver that's come over from Xbox in the winter break, and he's looking to make a name for himself in the top flight of the PC divisions.
Yeah, Elka as well, also known as Karim. Another coming over from Xbox, and he, I believe, is a champion in Xbox. I'll have to look that up. But two Xbox drivers, and they are definitely very quick. We've also got Elliot. I've raced alongside him in the evaluation race. He is blindingly fast, and Neuro has been actually really consistent. I raced with him last season, and he is absolutely brilliant for consistency.
Absolutely. Now, as Mark was alluding to earlier in this broadcast, it's not just PC Division 1 that's at stake here. We have the World Drivers' Championship, of course. We have the Constructors' Championship. And now we have the World Teams' Championship that will combine all of the divisions, all 13 across PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, so that every single driver in our league has a chance to fight for the very top competition. I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to this so much, Mark.
I think a lot of really strong competitors, especially or teams rather, in this division specifically. Obviously, we said the Alpha Tauris with Fraser and VTech. Um, Mercedes has Silver Arrow. We're not entirely sure about the second Mercedes driver, but I believe Aliwa is stepping in for him this race, and he is certainly no slouch. We also have. No, actually, without the names, I'm not entirely sure, so I won't speak on it.
We have a lot of drivers to keep track of. I cannot blame you for that at all. But all is in 10 teams fighting for the top of this championship. As we now look on to the calendar for this season, we saw a brief glimpse of it earlier on in the broadcast. Of course, we're starting in Brazil. We'll get to that later. But a number of highlights here that you'll notice. I'm looking forward to that third quarter of the season with Austria, Belgium, and Japan back to back to back. That's going to be a fun set of races and some old classic tracks that everyone knows and loves.
Yeah, it's reverted to maybe a bit of the olden days where you sort of start the race or start the season on tracks like Brazil. Um, Belgium, Japan is such a great, tricky circuit. We've got Azerbaijan, I believe the only street circuit on the calendar. A lot of very close walls in that one, and in some of the divisions where ghosting is off, that's going to be maybe very difficult and provide quite a good spectacle. Mexico as well. We've not raced it in the PC divisions. I believe they have in either PlayStation or Xbox, and yeah, that's one to look out for. But we start at a fan favorite in Brazil.
Absolutely. And right after that, we're going to be heading to Spain, which is one that Karim will be very happy about in this division. We'll see how that works out for him next week. Now, as we.
Yeah. I'm sorry. No, go
No,
ahead.
no, no, your call.
I was just going to say, yeah, Spain probably not one of the fan favorites on that list. Hopefully, we see a lot more overtaking in the game than we do in real life.
Absolutely. It helps that our preseason testing was at Coast of the Show, not Spain. As we look towards our drivers, this is Cruzo, who's made the step up from PC Division 2 last season, came second in the championship in a very close fight. And as you can see, between Season 1 and Season 2, a massive jump in quality. Almost 10 times the number of points, picking up a first place in a fastest lap, I think actually 4 wins in total, after only 7th place last season.
Yeah, having driven with him in season one, he just never really got up to speed. He was never, sorry, in season one, he was just never there to pick up even a podium. But season two, he was definitely the most dangerous person in uh, in the second division. He was absolutely blindingly quick, and had it not been for those 5 races where he took a while to get going, he probably would have won the championship.
Absolutely had an incredible finish to the season, scoring, I think it was 103 points over the span of the final 5 races. He did everything he could to get right up that table. It wasn't quite enough, but he's shown his mettle. He's now in PC Division 1. And from a new face to an old challenger. Do you want to taste this one, Mark?
Yeah, Vitek's been in this game a while now, and one thing that we've seen from him is some of the alternate strategies that you wouldn't think would be able to work. He is very strong on nursing his tires. I mean, we've seen, I think Australia last year, he put on some mediums very early on, managed to nurse them to the whole end of the race, and I believe picked up a podium because of it. He is maybe not the quickest out there, but he's reliable. Um, he's only won the one race. I think he, I think he'll be looking to improve a bit more on being quick, hopefully without losing any of that consistency.
Absolutely. Podiums in a third of his races, and as of yet, no DNFs in the lead. Let's see if he can keep that streak going into Season 3. But of course, he's not the only AlphaTauri driver we have on the grid today here. And here we're going to have Fraser take us through a hot lap of Interlagos.
I'm Fraser and I'll talk you through a lap of Interlagos. For part 1 of the center S's turn 1, you want to brake it around the 50 meter board, take a bit of that outside tarmac right there, clip that inside curb for turn 2, stay really close to turn 3 on the inside, that can save you a hundredths or two. For turn 4 you want to brake 10 meters before the 50 meter board, really throw your car in, don't go out too wide beyond the throttle very early. You can invalidate if you go too wide. Turn 5 completely flat. For turn 6 you want to brake 10 meters after the 50 meter board, clip those inside curbs, both of them preferably. Then for turn 8 try to clip that inside curb, I didn't do it there. Turn 9 stay to the inside as that is an on-camber corner. Be really careful on the exit door as you're going over hill. Turn 10 left hand side, the grass, you want to take that as braking point. Again, be really careful on the exit. This turn completely flat. Turn 11, turn 12, midway between 50 and 100 meter board, you want to brake. Again, slow in, fast out. I lost a bit of control there, did cost me a couple of hundreds, but for the following turns you want to again stay to the inside, and for the start finish stay as close to the left as possible. And this is a lap around Interlagos.
Hello and welcome to round 1 of FRS PC Division 1. We are here at Interlagos, this 15-turn course in Brazil. It's a favourite among all the fans around here. 4.3 kilometres, 2 DRS zones, fast sections in sectors 1 and 3, but you gotta be careful to need high amounts of downforce for that middle section where there's a lot of elevation changes. As you join us and start this qualifying session where there's a layer of dark cloud hanging over the track. What do you think, Mark?
Oh yeah, this is so typical of Brazil. It'll start raining at absolutely the worst possible time, which will probably be in the race, maybe right at the end of qualifying. And to be honest, you love to see it, don't you? This is part of the reason why you race in Brazil. I mean, the track is brilliant, but the rain, oh boy.
Yeah, plenty of historic moments. Most recently, of course, 2008. Is it possible to have a stream around here without mentioning that course? Without a race. But also that one in, was it 2012, 2013, with a red flag caused by the rain? That was a definitely interesting race.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that one, but 2008, wow, that was brilliant. It's not just the fact that it rains; it's how fast and how heavy the rain can just come about. 1 minute it's dry, the next minute it's a monsoon, and
Absolutely.
that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah. We're currently following Silver Arrow around on the outlap. We have a few cars going across the line to start their first lap of this session. VTEC Panda will be the first one we get a lap time from, and that should be a pretty good benchmark as to what we can expect from these drivers.
Yeah, it's difficult to know at the moment because most of the drivers are new to us. So we know that VTEC is fast. We know he's consistent. We kind of know where Silver Arrow and Fraser and Gabriel place around that. But other than that, yeah, it's all up in the open. One quick thing to note is that Aliwa is in the other Mercedes. He was in Division 1 in the first season, and he was incredibly quick. And here comes VTEC Panda now to complete his first lap.
Green to the first two sets, of course. He sets a 108.0. I'm expecting the cars to go a little bit faster than that. I see Elliott already with a 107.3 as the times come flooding in at the start of this session. The track might be a little bit cold, so the times might not be as quick as we might see in, for example, time trial, but I'm still expecting that by the end of the session we could be into the 106s with these cars. Aliwa, yeah, in the 107s, that's a very respectable time. And already a tie at the top of the board, Cruzo and Gabriel.
And weltering from Division 2, pole position at the moment. And that is a brilliant lap that he's setting. And Chrysogenes getting third as well.
Yeah,
and Gabriel, who previously was Division 2, is in fourth. So it's a big rep for the old Division 2 drivers.
Yeah, that is a strong statement to make. But Silver Arrow coming across the line late, and that is a 107.1, and that is definitely a statement from Silver Arrow, showing that he's not planning to take any messing from these Div 2 drivers.
Yeah, I have a slight fear that Silver Arrow might become the Lewis Hamilton of this division. He's got the car, he's certainly got the pace, and that lap time proves it.
Absolutely. Did I see on the hood there for a second that Aliwa has picked up a 5-place grid penalty already in the session? I'm not sure what that's for, but that is definitely a bad stop for the reserve driver in the Silver Arrows. Of course, we expect Aliwa to maybe have similar pace to what George Russell did in that car and here, but definitely not getting the best look so far with that.
And Karim comes across the line in fourth, and we know that he's got pace to win races, and he looks like he's going to prove that. Maybe with a qualifying pace like that, he'll certainly be up there. Couple of guys not set a lap time yet. Fraser, I'm certainly expecting something quite good from him to be up there near or above Gabriel. To be honest,
right now. Oh wow!
Ooh, that is a statement.
That is pole position provisionally for Fraser in the AlphaTauri by a very slim margin, just about 100th of a second. But
well, I didn't quite.
It's a second attempt. That is a strong performance.
Certainly didn't quite expect that. Well, we're certainly see them come out again. You can get about 3 decent laps set, maybe 4. I'm not entirely sure. It's quite a short track, so actually getting around isn't that difficult. But as the track temperature evolves and as it rubbers in, we'll certainly see some of those lap times come tumbling down. Alan Johnson out on medium tyres is an interesting choice.
It's interesting. Fast 6 driver comes across the line in P3. That's definitely a strong showing from the former Xbox driver, looking to continue that momentum into the PC realm. Speaking of these tyres that some drivers have chosen, we actually have 2 drivers who set their initial runs on mediums. We have Sedaris in the Red Bull and Alan Johnson in the McLaren. The tyre compounds for this track are the C3, the C2, and the C1, the 3 hardest compounds in the range. What you can expect from that is that they will last a long time throughout the race, but also the hard tyre especially is going to be difficult to keep a hold of. So you might see a soft medium or a medium soft from a lot of these drivers.
Yeah, it's a very, very quick track. I mean, we can see by the lap times it's just above a minute. And that means that they are putting, essentially the average speed is very high. You're putting a lot of pressure on those tyres. So we'll see how that affects the race. 36 laps, quite a lot. And as for how long you can stretch each tyre, and that's part of the problem with Brazil is you know the rain's coming, you just don't know when it's coming, and sometimes you're on the soft tyres and you've really just got to stretch them out as long as possible because you don't want to pit for new softs or mediums if the rain comes a lap later.
Yeah, that's definitely something you have to keep in mind, and with how unpredictable the weather can be here, it's very difficult. We're following on Crudo on a lap here. It seems
Yeah,
like
so
validation.
so he'll be peeling into the pits this time. This is Alan Johnson, I believe.
I'm actually on board with Elliot right now, and he's having quite a quick lap so far by the look of things. This could be a strong contender. Comes across the line, and it is provisional pole position, a 107.128, beating out the lead time of Fraser by about half a tenth, and that is now 3 drivers in the 107.1s. Whether that's track evolution or just the pace. And there's
Sedaris. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but he's gone pole position by a quarter of a second.
And that's why I think it might be track evolution. We dipped into the 106s and we could see his times continue to tumble, weltering the second driver to enter into the 106s just about manages P2, a purple third sector, but not enough to recover from.
Yeah, these guys have got scary pace from some of these guys. I believe what we're looking at in pole position is, I believe that's Mario. Oh, it is Sedaris. Sorry, that's my bad. And as we watch Fraser come around now, starting his second lap. Of course, he hosts the Fraser's pit box, and we watch one of his laps at the start of every race. So he certainly knows what he's talking about. He's just down on Sedaris's time at the moment. Let's see what he can do in this middle sector. A lot of heavy braking. I mean, this corner in particular, you come in and you're turning left and you're just sort of itching to get that power down. But you can kind of see just from how dark it is, how cold the track is. And sometimes it just isn't that easy. And you just got to make sure you don't get any wheel spin, hit the throttle as early as you can without sliding the car. And he's set a personal best in the middle sector as he comes around the final corner now. This long sweeping turn. We'll see if he can match up to the guys in front. Oh, and it's
good lap.
just off.
It's enough for P2 right now in the front row of the grid provisionally, and the third driver into the 106s. One of the very tricky parts of this section, as Fraser will tell you in his track guide videos, is that it's very uneven in the infield, so be careful on the throttle. And just getting on a little bit too early and hitting a crest can spin you out, and obviously burn up the tyres if you're in qualifying and put you right to the back of the field in race conditions. So that's something to be very careful about, as we see Silver Arrow starting a hot lap, the reigning Division 1 champion from Season 2, and after having provisional pole early in the session to be looking to reclaim that position and show that he is still the champion that needs to be toppled.
Yeah, just a touch of lockup coming into the CNOSs. He's 50 milliseconds down on the provisional pole time at the moment. I wonder if that had anything to do with that slight lockup, as I believe we'd just seen Weltering go P3. Again, really close at the front between these guys, and Silver Arrow's coming up to the second sector split now. We've just lost that, so it'll be a surprise when he comes across the line. He set a personal best. He is 3/10 down at the moment as he comes around this long sweeping turn, and then just hug the inside line, minimize the distance. Across the line he goes, and he's pole, and it's not by, it's barely by anything.
Barely a hundredth in that, and you can already see that the level of competition in this division has gone up so much, even just from the end of season 2 with the influx of new drivers. You really have to be on the pace, and a difference of 3/10 at this point is putting you onto the 4th row of the grid.
Yeah, I
It's
mean we've got drivers like Penichero that were mainstays in Division 1, and they've been in Division 1 since the start of the FRS. They were a whole second down, second and 2/10. I mean, I was in Division 1 last season. I'm glad I'm not now, because I would have been 3.5 seconds off the pace of some of these guys. We've seen
absolutely.
Spike set a time as well. He's only 3/10 down. That leaves MJ Povey as the only person not yet to set a lap time.
And did I see Karim jump up the standings there?
I believe I saw that as well. Yes, he's within that 10th of the guys in front of him. But just it's seeing. I imagine Sedaris as watching Silver Arrow's lap time, and when someone beats you by that tiny margin, your heart does sink a little bit, because you kind of know you threw absolutely everything on the line. And the fact that that's the tiniest of margins. I mean, a tiny lockup from Silver Arrow and Sedaris will still be on provisional pole, and it just hurts to know that. Likewise, Silver Arrow must be beaming from ear to ear, knowing that he only just about clinched pole position.
Absolutely, as Ferragamo has actually retired from the session here. Looks to be in the pit lane, so it might just be that perhaps used up all that tyres he has access to and can't do anything. As Sedaris
Oh,
punches back right as you're saying that. Sedaris' second attempt, I believe, possibly the third, takes provisional pole again by 36 thousandths of a second. I cannot believe we're having to read into the thousands here, time and time again. It's just that close. Alan Johnson comes across the line, jumps into P11 just ahead of his teammate Cruiser.
well, I was saying that how it makes your heart sink, but clearly not for Sedaris. He came back with a vengeance there, and yeah, less than a tenth separating the top two, 2/10 separating the top 6, and then a second separating the top 13. So actually, some of the guys, VTech Panda, 9/10 down off pole position. I'm not sure if this is him coming across the line. It looks like he's starting a lap, not finishing one. So we'll see what he can do from there. Gabriel, I know he's brilliant at qualifying. He's very much a one lap. I hesitate to call him a hot lapper, because I don't want to take away from his race pace, but he is frighteningly quick over a single lap, and still 7/10 down off the top runners.
Absolutely, of course. VTech Panda is one of those drivers where we see them shine in race conditions with that tyre management, just getting everything you can out of them. Maybe not as strong in qualifying sessions, but he'll still be looking to jump up the grid here. And one thing I have noticed is that we did see some people out on mediums at the start of the session. Right now, everyone is using the softs. There is not the field spread to be able to use the medium tyres at any sort of competitive time. And so you're seeing all of these drivers having to take the soft compound tyres, possibly compromising their race start a little bit, but they just need to get those extra few tenths to get up the grid. As VTech Panda comes across the line, he jumps up to P9 just inside the top 10. As a reminder, everyone inside the top 10 will have to start on the set of tyres they set their fastest lap on. and then the remaining 10 drivers in our session will have the option to start on any compound. So you might see the medium onto the soft for those drivers. Again, the hards aren't very good.
We just saw Mercedes leaving the pit lane, and I don't know. From where I'm sitting, it was quite an ominous sight. Silver Arrow obviously probably not happy that he's been bested by that tiny little margin, and he's gonna try and force Sedaris's hand there. MJ Povey has actually crossed the line now, and he's set a lap time. He's coming to 12th. I'm not sure why he waited so long. Maybe he wanted to save up some soft tires. I know that if it starts to rain, having a backlog of soft tires is a good idea, because sometimes you are doing tiny little stints in between the rain, and a lot of times you think if I need to change my tires now, and the rain come down in 10 minutes, I might as well go on another set of softs. So that could possibly play on his mind. But MJ Povey is incredibly quick. I mean, he was probably the quickest guy at the back end of last season, Division 1. So I would have expected him maybe to be a little bit higher up.
Absolutely. As you can see, 4 of the top 5 right now on outlaps. Fraser is crossing
Fraser's
the
got
line.
pole.
And goes pole! A 106.7. That's a strong performance.
Well, he's made it all up in the first sector there. He's gone purple in the first sector, and he's actually slower than his personal best in the third sector. One interesting thing to note from some of these drivers, I don't know if this is Silver Arrow starting his lap now, so we'll ride on board with him. But one of the things that Silver Arrow is doing that some of the other drivers, I noticed VTEC Panda didn't do it, is when they come out of that final corner, you'll notice that Silver Arrow will keep his car to the left-hand side, and run almost right next to the wall. And Silver Arrow's already a tenth down, a little bit of a
He's gone
wobble
over the
there.
curb, and that's invalidated. The lap has gone
Oh.
too wide. And that's Silver Arrow's qualifying session drawn to a close as we have 10 seconds left and counting down. Anyone on a lap will be able to finish it, but the checker flag will fall, and his qualifying session is very close to over right now. Silver Arrow cannot contend now. We have Sedaris, who might want to try and strike back. Karim, Elliott, Weltering. A number of cars here. Is that
Spike's
Spike
jumped
just
up to
jumped up to P4? Elliott is
Here
coming
comes
across the
Elliott.
line now.
Not green in any
It's
of his
enough
sectors.
for P4. I can Spike back down to P5, and
But
Karim
he doesn't move.
also drops.
And Sedaris is well, he's either pitted or crossed the line.
He's crossed the line. It's not been enough. Fraser currently holds pole position unless Karim has anything to say about it.
Well, we're right on board with him now. But
That lap is invalidated. It looks like Fraser might have come out at the end of this session and claimed P1 in this qualifying session. And what there?
And someone's hit I think the grass on the exit of the curbs. I wonder if maybe the track temperatures have dropped, which is why we're not seeing too much improvement since Fraser's lap time. Because they all went out there and they all either invalidated or were a little bit slower. Maybe they're just pushing a little bit too hard, or maybe the temperatures dropped, maybe a couple of first signs of drizzle.
And I noticed there that Neuro in the Racing Point did pick up a 5-place grid penalty for that incident. I believe Neuro was the car that spun out there, and so I can understand why that's been given, but that is definitely going to be a frustration going into this race, dropping from P14 down to almost the back of the grid at this point.
Yeah, a bit of a shame for him. He's one of those like VTEC Panda where they are just so good on their tyres.
Absolutely.
So, during the race, I mean, his race pace is absolutely fantastic, and to be honest, qualifying for people like him and VTEC almost doesn't matter because their race strategy is just so brilliant. As we look at the standings now, Fraser taking pole position away from Sedaris by not very much. Silver Arrow right up there is going to be a great race.
2000s between the two drivers on the second row of the grid. That just shows how tight this field is. Our champion forced into P3 and is very close to being further down the grid there. We have Cruzo in P11 who might want to try the alternate strategy. And for the drivers behind that, they're going to be having to hope to make a bit of a recovery drive going into this race. So as we get this session underway, Mark, are you expecting a lot of drivers to go for the alternate strategy here?
It really depends on the weather conditions, I think, and I think a lot of them already probably know what the weather is at least planned to be, but we're not sure, obviously from our view in the pit box, exactly what's going to unfold in this race. One interesting thing to note, I'm not sure if they've had a vote in Division 1, but ghosting is forced on for this race. So if someone does spin, they will ghost, and if someone is lapped, they will also ghost. And that is because in the final sector at Interlagos, if you spin on the exit curbs, you can go flying into the grass, and you almost get lost in the track, and the game will teleport you back onto the racing line. And unfortunately, that is just too dangerous. So we've enabled ghosting for this race, and perhaps this race only.
Absolutely. I do kind of question the justification behind teleporting a car right onto the racing line if they're wandering a little bit. It does seem like a questionable call, but it's something we have to live with, and for that reason, this first race will be a little bit more forgiving for our drivers, and that is the case in all divisions. That rule has been enforced. Now, as we go onto the formation lap here, we do have a number of cars who have opted for the medium tyres here. Cruzo in P11, as I mentioned, has gone for it. Everyone outside the top 10, in fact, has gone for it, other than Mario, Pinchero, and Pergamo.
Yeah, I think if you start outside the top 10, you might as well take that gamble. Why not? I mean, you get a fresh set anyway, but a fresh set of softs really isn't that much better than a sort of 3-lap-old set of softs. So it's quite a fast formation lap, actually, that Fraser's leading. They almost look like they're racing.
I guess
They're not. I can assure you
a,
that they aren't.
it's quite a short lap, so maybe it's just using all the chance they have to get heat into those tyres for an optimal race start. If you're at the front of the grid, it is critical that you can hold that position going into turn 1. It's quite a short run to turn 1 here, so you've got to be confident to make a move, but Fraser will want to make sure there's absolutely no chance of that happening as the grid starts to form up for the first race of FRS Season 3.
And as we see the final guys come round, I didn't see MJ Povey come round, so I'm not sure if he is on the back of the grid. Oh, he's miles behind.
So Fraser's
But he
tyre
is
will
lining
may
up
not
now.
have been very useful if he's had to sit on pole position for quite some time. But of course, that'll be true of all the cars behind as well, so we'll see how that works out.
Interesting. Also, Fraser is starting on the outside, so is Sedaris going to make a move up the inside as the lights will come on, and the race gets underway.
And it
Hard
looks
to
like
see exactly, but it looks like Fraser's got an okay start, but Sedaris goes up the inside. He's taken the lead. Elliott has almost taken it from Silver Arrow. He will have the inside line, and he probably will take it back. Fraser is really close, though, to Sedaris, and he's surely going to be looking for a move as Sedaris goes on the inside to defend. And we've got Karim up the inside of Silver Arrow. Silver Arrow goes wide. He's going to lose fourth place as well to Karim, and Karim's hit the grass and he's hit the wall. I don't know if he's got damage, but he's dropped himself way back as Sedaris maintains the lead of the race. Fraser second, Elliott third, Silver Arrow dropped down to fourth, Weltering fifth, Spike sixth. And round the outside, Fraser's looking. You just can't overtake there, nor can you overtake round here. And Sedaris still actually going a little bit defensive. That's a tiny bit surprising, but Fraser's right up behind him.
And Ferragamo has been dropped in the second sector here. I'm not sure exactly what's happened, but it looks like there could be damage on that front wing. It looked like Karim managed to escape without too much damage, and I don't think the same is true of Ferragamo. We'll have to see if he opts for an early pit stop. As he's gone to lap 2, Sears of course takes the fastest lap, but Fraser is still right behind, might try and make a move to win out the Center S. And we actually have Silver Arrow making a move coming through the Center S there, and takes position over Elliott. Of course, there will be no DRS until the start of lap 3, so there's a good chance of holding this position. Meanwhile, at the front, Fraser is not able to get past Sedaris. We'll have to follow into the twisty second sector in P2 in this race.
Well, I was about to just spew on a monologue about how difficult it is to overtake around Brazil and exactly why it's so difficult to overtake around Brazil. But Silva Arrow just proves me wrong. So he was he was down in, was he 5th place? And I think he jumped Weltering and Elliott in the end of the first lap and the start of the second, as we see the leaders actually pulling away a little bit then from the rest of the group. Silva obviously have to overtake, so he's been dropped down a little bit. Interesting to see what kind of pace Sedaris has. In fact, Silva has caught right up back to them, and it's Elliott now who's being dropped. If we watch on board Silva, you can see how close he is to Fraser. As they come round, they will all get DRS on each other. What I was going to say is the game of trying to overtake on this track. So the easiest place to overtake is on the start finish straight, but because the next straight has DRS as well, you almost don't want to overtake there. You want to wait for this bit to try not to let the other person back past, because this middle sector is so tricky to overtake in. I mean, basically there is no, unless you are a lot quicker than the guy in front, there really is nowhere to overtake, and you can see them all bunching up as they come into this middle sector.
Absolutely, the top 3 seems to be breaking away a little bit from the pack behind. Of course, at the back of the grid, we have Hollow and Garmo, who have both been forced to pit at the end of lap 1. Garmo onto the medium tyres, possibly looking over onto the softs at the end, but Hollow has gone onto the hard compound, so possibly trying to spend a 35 laps into the end of the race. It might be tricky, but if it didn't skip a second pit stop, it could pay off. And Silva Arrow behind has currently got the fastest lap in that slipstream of Fraser. Fraser, meanwhile, is right on the back of Sedaris. Is he doing well to make this move on the DRS straight? It doesn't like he's gaining very much.
He's got it open. Sedaris will go defensive. He'll also be using a lot of ERS, and that is the second point to make about overtaking around this track. It's something to do with how fast the average speed is and how there aren't actually that many heavy braking zones compared to acceleration zones. It just means that you don't regain that much ERS per lap. It's a very, very small amount. And if you burn through your ERS, you find that later on in the race, at least before you pit, where ERS seems to just completely reset, you find that actually it becomes really difficult defending from the guys behind that have taken the time to save up their ERS. Fraser dropping a little bit back as well. He's about half a second behind. Silva Arrow only 0.3 behind him, and we can kind of see them darting there in the distance. I don't know if that was Fraser almost having a look at Sedaris as they come through the center S's. Fraser's lost a little bit of time, and it is actually really difficult to follow through those S's, as there's a Ferrari, and I think that was Mario in Fast 6 maybe had a tangle there.
That's unfortunate. We actually had Weltering get past Elliott for a second. Elliott's gotten back past, but they are side by side coming into the second sector. Can Elliott hold on to this position?
He's not going to give this up, is he?
No, absolutely not. He's not quite got the pace to keep up the cars ahead, but he seems to be putting his foot down and saying that P4 is as low as he's willing to do in this race. Weltering is going to have to put up a lot of effort to get back past and to make the move stick.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is where Weltering is just waiting for essentially this corner here, which marks the end of the second sector and the start of the overtaking opportunities. So he will get, DRS will pop open now. You'll see it. You can see the ERS, and he's already very low. And that is going to be a little bit difficult for him because he won't have such an overboost. But he has just made the move up the inside on the center S's, and then
Elliott's gone round.
Oh, and they've made contact, and Elliott he's losing so many places.
He's almost driving backwards here, to get back onto the track.
I think maybe he didn't realise that ghosting was off, and he was trying to come back onto the track in a more polite manner, because he did kind of wait for a gaggle of cars to come flying past. He is right down now. He's in 17th when he was looking at maybe being a podium challenger.
And he's also missing a good portion of the front wing there, so going to be hoping for a safety car to deal him back into this race. Fast 6 driver, also hoping for that as he passed to pit. And this pack for P11 is insane. We have 5 cars nose to tail. It's like the M25 coming through the second sector here.
Well, if you didn't believe about the
Cars look
Concertino,
drafted.
if you didn't believe the Concertino effect was real, you're seeing in action now. And Alan Johnson is
Oh, he's looked at the inside.
Oof.
It's not managed to make the move stick. He might have compromised his run on the start-finish straight here, but of course every car at this train will have DRS except for the leader. So making a move stick is difficult, and it sometimes does try and catch the other driver off guard if they're not expecting it, and see if you can make a jump in an unconventional location.
He is all over the back of Nero though, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets past quite quickly. We saw it there. If he's maybe not got the speed on the straight line, maybe he's put too many points in the aerodynamics and not enough in the engine, and maybe he isn't able to get past, which is why he's so close in the middle sector. We see one of the racing points come in. That's Elliott for a new front wing. Puts on hard tires, hopefully looking to go to the end. Clouds are still dark though, so who knows about the weather in this one?
Absolutely. It really is an unfortunate situation to get taken out of a race early in this sort of situation. You just have to hope that you can keep the pace and that certainty later in the race will deal you back in. But these drivers just got to keep their focus and keep trying to lap after lap around this track. And if we throw to a replay of what happened at the race start, you can see the battles 2 by 2. Elliott and Silver Arrow. Elliott managed to make a good move there, but Silver Arrow managed to defend. Elliott got pushed wide. Of course, Karim had that spin that gave Silver Arrow P4 back. Very unfortunate early incident there for Karim. But he has not had to make a stop. It's actually currently running in P7. It looks like he hasn't taken damage here. This is the battle between Elliott and Weltrin. Weltrin made a move on the previous lap at the same location. Did it again here. And as Elliott tried to contest it, just could not hold it on the throttle there and spun around.
Well, all these incidents will be contested in the stewards' room afterwards, after the race. What it looked like from Silver Arrow, he's obviously an experienced guy. He's done this whole season before. I wonder if he just thought, let's just get through the first corner. Let me just get it through, keep all the parts of my car, and then once the drivers have settled down a little bit, then he can start to make his move. Because Elliott sort of came up the inside of him, and he went really wide to Silver Arrow. And we've got a lot of cars moving around now as Aliwar is fighting with Chrysogenes.
Side by side.
Oh, he's just about cut that one.
But will Crusoe have the DRS on this back straight?
No. And here comes Neuro as well.
Does not have it, but they're doing 3 wide into turn 4. And so Aliwar will hold the lead. It's a puff of smoke from the brakes, and
and Aliwar's made a mistake. And Neuro, the big winner out of all of this. Chrysogenes isn't going to give it up. He's going to try and poke his head up the inside. I'm not sure if maybe there's a couple of drops of rain out there.
Aliwar's still trying around the outside of Rid there. It looks like he's going to manage to make the position stick.
And Rid will have the inside line. And they're all locking up here. So it looks very slippery out there. So I don't know if there are any drops of rain. I don't know if either of you can verify that, but they really are bunched up and they're eager to get past each other.
Yeah, absolutely. If you had any doubts as to the field spread of this Division 1, this is the tightness of the battles we have in the midfield. It is fantastic viewing as Rid goes back around Aliwar. Aliwar tries to hold it through the inside of turn 1, but Rid will take the inside line for turn 2 and hold the position. Might not have DRS off the cars ahead. It looks like it does manage to hold within a second, and so a much easier chance to defend from Aliwar, and Aliwar dropped back down to 15th position.
Oh, there's a little bit of a slide there from Aliwar as he gets on the power, maybe just a little bit too early. As we sort of recap the race, so Sedaris took the lead from Fraser at the start of the race. He's held it pretty much ever since. Silver Arrow, a couple of incidents, involving himself. He was dropped down to 5th or 6th at some point, but he's made his way back, and now they're just kind of running line astern, keeping that sort of half a second gap to each other. Keeps dropping down to 2/10 and then jumping back up. But I think until they start to pit, or maybe until it starts to rain, I don't think we're going to see that order change.
Absolutely. The issue that Silver Arrow has, of course, is that he's stuck in this DRS trade. Fraser has DRS to defend, and there's very little he can do. Weltrin currently leading the pack, chasing them down. He's had a very solid performance in Div 1 before. As a reserve at this track in the final round of last season, managed to pick up P3 after completing all of Season 2 in Division 2. So
I was thinking Mario looking up the inside of Penicero in a place where he probably shouldn't be, and he spun around, and unfortunately you've kind of got to say that one's on you, Mario. When you're the overtaking driver, you've got to kind of pick a time and a place that makes sense, and that one just didn't, and he's gotten himself spin round because of it. Not lost the position though, because there was quite a big gap there between Penicero and Neuro, who we saw battling with the two McLarens, with Rid, with Aliwar, and maybe even with VTEC Panda.
absolutely. As we see on the timing tower there, Ferragamo has pulled his car into the pits and retired from the race. Does not think there's very much of a chance of recovering that early pit stop. Mario, of course, didn't take damage, but those soft tyres, which were already dying off, will now surely be feeling very, very toasty, and he might be forced to an earlier pit stop, possibly onto the hards, if he can't make them last for a few more laps. Looking further to the front of the field, do you think, as we start looking towards the pit lane, that Silver Arrow's chance to get ahead of this pack is by some form of undercut? Do you think that's a fair strategy to take?
You never know. As we see, that's Karim, and that's not the first time he's been pointing in the wrong direction. Unfortunately, in this race, he's down in 8th, and he's now under pressure from Penicero. Coming back to your question, we're looking probably lap 16 when most of the drivers would ideally pit for medium tires and get rid of these terribly worn soft tires. Now you can undercut by a lap, I guess. You can undercut by 2 laps maybe, but what's the limit? As we see Karim coming into the pits now, he does a good job of keeping under the limit there as he locks up both front wheels up. So what tires is he going to put on? He's put on mediums.
That's going to be a
So
stretch at the end of the race. 24 laps it will need to be.
yeah, so maybe that's the limit.
Territory.
I wonder if, well, every lap now we're going to be wondering if someone's going to jump into the pits. Of course, if you don't pit and then the following lap there's a VSC or a safety car, then you've pretty much won the whole thing, because that's just a free pit stop. And that's the worry if you pit too early, is that you'll be on older tyres than everyone and they'll be ahead of you.
As on board with Silver Arrow, he had a snap of oversteer on that lap, and Fraser is the first one to blink. Fraser pitched from P2, who looked to make the undercut to take the lead of this race. Sedaris and Silver Arrow stay out on track, and possibly Silver Arrow is now going to try and make an overtake in someone who doesn't have DRS. Weltrin follows him in, and bits of a penalty for speeding in the pit lane here. You can see the AlphaTauri pit crew doing a great job putting those medium compound tyres on. He will be touched over to the end on those tyres. And one driver I would like to mention right now is that MJ Povey started in last place in this race, put the medium tyres on, and has managed to climb into P5. So with that and the alternate strategy, the Xbox mainstay could be making another strong performance in PC Division 1.
Yeah, as we see Fraser come out, if anyone knows what they're doing with regards to strategy, I think it would be Fraser, the guy that gives the advice to pretty much the whole division, or all of the divisions rather, on how they should be driving. We'll see how he'll manage that. He's got 2 seconds to Penicero. If he closes Penicero down too quickly, he will be in a bit of a bad way. And I wasn't joking when I said MJ Povey is probably, or was the fastest guy in the last 2 or 3 races of Division 1. I mean, even more than Silver Arrow. I'm surprised at his qualifying, actually. I expected him to be up there with Silver Arrow. As we see both Sedaris and Silver Arrow into the pits.
Yeah, and Spike behind as well. This is the moment. We have to see, can Fraser make the jump and move into P1 in this race?
Well, he's coming
He's
round
coming
now.
through.
He's going to come
on
through the
now.
CNRSs. And we're waiting for the next camera angle as he comes around here to see, is there a Red Bull coming out of the pits? I imagine there is.
Oh
and he's
no!
behind Silver Arrow.
Oh, what
And
a disaster for Fraser.
I wonder if he's made a mistake there and lost a little bit of time. He wasn't really behind anyone. And
I mean, the problem now is he's going to have one lap more worn tyres the rest of the race as well. So fighting back against Silver Arrow could be that much harder. Although, if Silver Arrow can't get within 1 second of Sedaris here, this could still be a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen already how difficult it is to overtake around Interlagos, and for Fraser, I think his heart might have dropped a little bit to see him come out behind Silver Arrow as well as Sedaris. The undercut obviously not working there. He would have hoped to try and gain a position, and with worn tyres or 1 lap more worn tyres, it will be a case of and someone else is coming to the pits. I believe that's Gabriel. So MJ Povey is leading the race. It is technically a Red Bull 1-2 at the moment, although MJ Povey does need to pit again.
You'd have to think though, if there is a nullification of the race at some point here, a safety car or a VSC, that could be very beneficial for MJ Povey. He probably did about 10 seconds in that compared to the drivers who have already been stopped on the softs. Pit delta just, with the track being neutralised, you can get in and out so much quicker, and that could put him on for a good shot at a podium here, if he is so fortunate. But
I mean, if there were a safety car or a VSC in about 4 laps, I think MJ Povey wouldn't be too upset with that. Let's say he's got a 5-second lead on Sedaris. His pace at the moment is okay. I think it's more or less maintained that 5 seconds. You never know though with these guys if they're talking to each other, if they've got an open communication on. Silver Arrow's actually not within DRS of Sedaris, so maybe Sedaris is finding these slightly harder tyres to be more to his liking, because it's not necessarily that he's pulling away, but he is maintaining the gap.
And
As we see
Panda
VTech in.
is the final car on the soft compound tyres to pull into the pits. We mentioned how he seems to be a bit of a tyre whisperer, trying to hold on to them for so long. It's been 16 laps, but he decided to call it time on those, move on to the mediums. And it should be fresh for the end of the race, but he's right near the back of the field, he might struggle.
So a couple of basically just going back over the race. Sedaris has gained half a second over MJ Povey in just the last, I don't even think it's been a lap. And you can see that time tumbling down. So that's the difference between fresh mediums and 16-lap old mediums. That gap to Silver Arrow is technically increasing, not by a lot, but by enough. Although Silver Arrow's just taken 2/10 out of him, so I don't know if there's a mistake being made there. Fraser is within DRS of Silver Arrow, but again, how difficult is it going to be for him to make the move on these guys to get back into the position that he knows he should have been in?
I mean, it's possible that possibly some of these drivers will have been watching what Fraser's been doing in the channel and thought, I don't want him to overtake me, so if he's gone for maybe 3-6 wins, maybe on to 2-6, and just try and keep the straight line speed to keep the position in the first and third sectors. You never know how competitive these cars can be, and they're definitely looking for every advantage they can find in a track like this. Your focus is on where can you overtake and where can you be slow and still hold on to position.
The other thing to note is quite a lot of cars have time penalties at the moment, and we were saying about the actually the top 4 guys here, all incredibly quick, and none of them have got a single penalty. So I wonder if any of them are stuck on 2 warnings and maybe don't dare go over the lines to get that final penalty. But to be this quick and this consistent really is what it takes to battle for the championship in the top division. As we see, is this Spike attacking on Chrysogenes? He's going up the inside, should have this one done and dusted. Whether or not Chrysogenes can fight back through the center S's, you almost want to give them the position before the corner, so you get DRS coming back round the center S's. And I think that's what Cruzo has done, because he does have the DRS open, but
So
it's
does
just
Spike.
not enough. Yeah, unfortunately, his Chrysogenes teammate kind of letting him down a little bit by being so close to Spike.
Well, I mean, there is the fact that Spike did start on the soft compound tyres, whereas Cruzo qualified P11, started on the mediums, and so there's quite a significant tyre delta there right now. Cruzo will definitely be feeling the age of those mediums. We were looking to see when the optimal time is to pull into the pits, getting a fresh set of boots, and made some passes at the end of this race. You're definitely going to see some of that on these runners going to softs. The tyre delta is going to be quite significant, and there'll be some fireworks in the closing stages.
Oh, and we've seen the McLaren go off there, and that was Alan Johnson dropping down a lot of places. It looked like Spike was letting Chrysogenes back past. I don't know if they made contacts, but Spike has gotten past Chrysogenes as Alan Johnson, I believe, is into the pits, and I think he might also be the first medium tyre runner to blink. So this is just about where you kind of want to pit. And he has gone.
He's gone to the hards, so I don't know if he's picked up damage in that instant and hasn't been able to stretch the end on the soft and decided to play it safe. But those hard tyres are going to be very difficult to keep hold of. And with only 17 laps to go, you might wonder, was it worth taking the risk and just pitting softs? If you get a punch-up, so be it. I'm not sure if that's going to do him any favours in the closing stage of this race.
Well, the soft tyres will last 16 laps, and that's after you've absolutely ragged them during qualifying. So I'm not sure what, unless he's made a mistake there, he doesn't know his strategy. But I'm not sure he's made the right call there. He's obviously made a mistake coming into the pits. He's made a mistake in the pits as well, as we see MJ Poby finally coming out, or coming in rather, to get some soft tyres on.
Yep.
He will go to the end, and it'll be interesting to see where he comes out now.
Absolutely. A few of the medium runners behind have decided to respond to that stop, deciding that, yeah, 16 laps is definitely something I can do on these soft compound tyres, especially if you've saved a set from qualifying. If you maybe picked the softer preset, you have an extra set of softs to use, and that may have been the strategy here. I know MJ Poby didn't do many runs in qualifying, so those will be brand new, and will be charging down the likes of Spike ahead, Gabriel, and possibly even trying to take a run for the podium here if he can really get the best out of these tyres.
Yeah, I mean, as we keep saying, the overtaking around Brazil is difficult, and especially through the center S, you've got the issue of not enough aerodynamic grip when you're so close to someone. But MJ Povey will have the mechanical grip that will maybe allow him to stay close enough that he can get a great run in out of turn 3 down the long straight.
I noticed he's gained a second on the car ahead just in that outlap and already has DRS on Spike. You have Gabriel right ahead of them, so he's going to be looking to make quick work of both of those, move up into the top 5, as actually Gabriel and Spike seem to be running quite close. This might be a battle between those two as well, and maybe MJ can just pounce.
Oh, and here comes Spike up the inside. And he's got the move done already. So Spike up into P5, Gabriel in 6th. MJ Povey is behind them, hasn't got any penalties. So if it stays as it is, he'll jump both of them. But I think he'll be eyeing up Weltering, and especially Weltering's time penalty that he's got. Not entirely sure exactly how many seconds it is added on. He might actually be good in the position that he is, but
he's going to be
seeing
suffering
him
here in the second sector, wishing that he had DRS get past. They have to wait a little bit longer.
He's actually going to be incredibly close coming out of the final corner, I reckon, with the just
Gabriel
putting down the soft tire.
And there we go. So easy. It doesn't look like he's close enough to make the move on Spike, but definitely close enough to hold on to DRS for the second DRS, and possibly it could be 2 overtakes in as many straights if he can get a good run through the center S here and move up into P5.
Gabriel trying to kind of fight back to it, but I think this one's lost for him. Yeah, I think MJ Povey, is he going to get DRS? He is. That's going to help him close up. He is a whole second now behind Spike, but we've got a very tricky infield section coming up, and
Right, thought you wide there as well.
that extra mechanical grip is going to help him so much in this middle sector, and he's going to be right up behind.
The final car we have out on the starting set of tyres is Cruzo, who's done 22 laps on those medium tyres. You've got to wonder, is it past time for him to pull into the pits, get some softs on, and do some racing in the final stage of this race?
Yeah, he
he's
might.
leading time to Karim, who has, 10-lap-old mediums, but they're just so much fresher compared to the 22 laps that Cruzo's done. Just can't seem to hold on to the time.
And as we approach the start of the next lap for MJ Povey, he was a whole second down at the start of this lap from Spike. He's now less than a tenth as they cross the line. He's looking to get the move done even before we get to the center S's and the second DRS straight. Spike will have DRS down this straight, but I think MJ Povey is already too far ahead of him. Kind of see by the deltas that the time is trickling down, but I think they've come around turn 3 now.
Absolutely, and that is MJ Povey up into P5. Now has 13 laps to charge down Weltering and try and get one more position in this race. As Cruzo has decided to pit now onto the soft compound tyres, we'll have a good chance that Mito overtakes here, but is down in P17 right now. So it's a tight pack down at the lower end of the grid, but he's going to have to make a lot of moves to have any chance of points here in his Division 1 debut.
Yeah, for the guy who sort of set the world alight in Division 2 last season, he's going to be a little bit disappointed that he's down in 17th, whilst the guy that he was sort of showing up, Weltering, is way up there in P4, soon to be P5.
You're calling that one early, aren't you?
I think even with the penalties, I think MJ Povey is technically still ahead of him. So if the race were to end now, I think MJ Povey still finishes 4th. So the overtake on track is probably more for pride than anything. Maybe MJ Povey thinks he can close up 12 seconds to the leaders. He's got 11 laps. The softs are about a second quicker. Is it possible? If one of those three picks up a time penalty, maybe he's on the podium.
Possibly. I think they're quicker at the start of the stint, but it's one thing holding that for 2 or 3 laps. It's another holding it for 12 to 14 laps. It's going to be definitely a stretch for MJ Povey to get onto the podium here. He should have a good chance at P4, but it could be Sedaris, Silver Arrow, and Fraser, who have been at the front of this field all the race long, who are looking likely to take the podium here. There is still the question of what order, though. Sedaris has broken away from Silver Arrow, but Fraser still hounding the back of the Mercedes. Not really able to make too much progress, but any mistake, any time penalty, and that suddenly deals Fraser right back into this race.
Yeah, Silver Arrow's dropped down a little bit from Sedaris. He's kind of keeping the gap fairly stable, and Fraser again is finding overtaking around here just as difficult as he did before they all pitted. He's going to be kicking himself. I can almost imagine every single lap he comes around, he's going to be kicking himself that he couldn't make the time up when he came into the pits. I don't know if that was just the nature of how he came into the pits, or maybe his outlap wasn't brilliant. Maybe he got held up, but he's certainly not going to be happy at how the events unfolded with regards to that. We watch a replay now of the start of the race. This is where Sedaris got past Fraser, and Silver Arrow kind of got mixed up in a little bit of everyone trying to argy-bargy their ways through the grid. And here we see Weltering getting past Elliott. Decides to go up the inside, takes the position, round he goes, and there was a bit of contact there, and Elliott got spun round, but we didn't quite get to see that. 3 cars there going side by side, and very nearly an accident there.
Absolutely.
I think that was Neuro that nearly crashed into the back of Aliwar, and then Aliwar going off, and then the McLarens. It's been, actually the midfield has been really, really close.
Absolutely. While we're watching these replays, I saw pop up briefly that Spike had picked up the fastest lap on those old mediums, burning pretty much all of his ERS trying to hold on to MJ Povey. But now Cruiser on those fresh softs has improved by a 10th and may end up sniping the fastest lap point away from anyone at the top of the field. But as I say that, Elliott actually, who's another position down, goes to a 108.7. So there's still some competition on track, if not for point necessarily, for pride in who can circulate the circuit fastest, essentially.
And we're back live. Silver Arrow is still dropping down from Sedaris. So maybe just on these tyres, he doesn't have the pace. From the chat, Rage has pointed out that Fraser runs a particularly high downforce setup around this track, which is probably why he's finding it so difficult to overtake. As we see someone getting past someone else, hard to see from this angle. It looks like either, I think that's Gabriel getting past Karim, or it's Rid on Penichero. So Chrysogenes picks up another 3-second penalty. MJ Povey only 2 seconds behind Weltering. Ohe, we start to look maybe towards driver of the day. I know it's a little bit early, but what have you been impressed with the most this race?
I mean, it's very hard to ignore the run that Sedaris has put there, taking the lead through turn 1 and just not letting up at any point in this race. That's definitely a strong performance. Other than that, MJ Povey has done a great job climbing from the back of the grid and is now looking to just about miss out on a podium. But it's been a strong performance from the Red Bull here.
Yeah, I believe he did start the race from last place. It almost feels like so long ago. There's been so much action, but I think he started from last place. He's now currently, with the time penalties, technically in 4th place. And there we go. You see the graphics started in 20th, currently 5th. Once the penalties are applied, he will be in 4th, but I think he'll want to make that move on track as well. Potentially try and close up to the guys ahead. There's not enough time, but a safety car, like a full safety car, would really help him out actually. And we look down the grid. Gabriel up in 7th. Spike got past him not that long ago. We'll have to see how those time penalties unfold as we watch Chrysogenes right up behind Penichero here. And we've got a driver of the day poll. So you out there at home can vote and we'll hear it and we'll love it.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been for a number of races in the broadcast booth. We've been, talking far more about the race than we already needed to. We've been picking driver of the days every race. But now it's time for the Twitch chat, unbiased as we know they are, to make their own pick and decide who has been the strongest driver they've seen on track today.
Yeah, and the vote is updating in real time. So get on there, click a button, and you'll see your impact on the stream itself. Amazing, I know. That's better than the actual Formula One broadcast. That's how good we are here in the FRS series. Hit subscribe, like, comment, and share. Twitch primes are a thing. I don't know how they work, but do one of them right now.
You are nailing this right now. I love it. Of course, I imagine a lot of the Twitch chat is very upset that they cannot vote for John Lemon as driver of the day today.
Unfortunately, John Lemon isn't racing in this division or in any of the divisions that will be broadcast on the main channel. I know.
As far as we know.
Sad Lemons in chat.
But one thing we are trying to focus on is that community streams for the season, with there being 13 divisions in total, we're going to be trying to make that.
Oh, MJ Povey right up behind Weltering now. Oh, I would love if he made the move around this corner. He's going for it. What an absolute brilliant driver this guy is, and I really do hope to see a lot more of him starting maybe a little bit closer at the front, because he is so good. He is so quick, and the audacity to make a move round the outside where he knows in the back of his mind, he knows he probably shouldn't have. He probably knows he should have held it for a little bit longer, played it a bit safe. But man, do you love to see that kind of thing.
It was a brave move, definitely. And I mean, even though it's not his division, he's trying to make his mark on this. You see, almost a bit of celebration there on the start finish straight. as
He's
Weltering trail.
well, keeping some warmth into those tires. That's gonna. I think if you're weltering and you see that in front of you, that you might take that a little bit as a challenge, bit of disrespect.
And he's
Weltering's
trying to
gonna
make a
come
run
back at
here.
him.
He's not quite got it.
Yeah, he
Oh, that was
wasn't going
close.
to, and Nura
Meanwhile,
going. Sorry, that is
that is
Nuro
Nura.
going round round the outside of Mario. Mario's going to come up the inside. Nuro probably should have held the inside there and stopped this one from coming past. But he's going to have a good run here as they go
Oh,
side by side. They make contact.
and that's
Oh, and
retiring
Nuro's was tired.
Nuro.
And that's a safety car. And
It's
that's
sure no. How is that not a safety car? Oh, there we go.
it's
VSC
a
has been
virtual
deployed.
safety car. Oh, how close MJ Povey was to maybe a podium there.
I
So,
mean,
is there time to pit?
there can't be, surely. I mean,
I mean, Pfizer does technically have the chance to gamble and go on to soft tyres here.
Karim seems to have quite a gap to Aliwar behind, so might choose to go for the fastest lap. Looks like he's chosen to stay out, and this is going to be a bit of a neutralisation while we get that car of Neuro cleaned off the track. That is such an unfortunate way for his race to end. They were on track for points there, but just not quite worked out. Here you see the overtake that Weltering made on. Overtake made on Weltering. That was a brave move, truly showing his mettle there. And then coming through the center S, Neuro made the move over Mario, fighting side by side throughout this entire straight. Mario took the inside, and what happened here?
Yeah, Noah tried to fight him back.
Oh,
I think Mario probably didn't expect him to be there. Not necessarily didn't see him, just didn't expect him to actually try and come back at that and close the door. And that's kind of
I'm
stick
not
to
sure
one half
that
a dozen of
Neuro
the
had.
other.
I'm not sure Neuro had the run there. I think he was too far back to really what that move was. Trying to hold on to a point, I guess, against Mario. Obviously, 2 points for 9th, 1 point for 10th, but in anything that has cost him the point he did have as well. So definitely not the way he would want his race to end, and we're looking for an improvement going into the second race of the season.
And we had a look at MJ Povey's overtake on Weltering, probably overtake of the race, unless there's something that we missed. Maybe one of the drivers streaming it. Weltering really close up to MJ Povey, so MJ Povey not taking off in the way that you might expect. I don't know if he's celebrating in front of him every lap or if that was a one-off. I'm like
last
90%
lap,
sure.
I'd imagine he was doing a bit of weaving to keep temping the tyres in the VSC. But whether Weltering saw that as celebration, we'll have to see how that plays out in the post race.
90% sure MJ Povey has Twitch open on his other screen and he's seen the votes. Oh,
and Spike has retired from the race in sector 2. And from a points position, it's going to be nothing for the Renault team to come out this first race. And of course, that doesn't just.
Not sure where he is. Oh, he's on the.
No!
Right on the racing line, and one of the. That surely wasn't Silva. No, it was Aliwar. I think was expecting his car to be ghosted, and it wasn't. And why it wasn't, I'm not really sure. That was not intended, and that might have ruined Aliwar's races. He is technically still in the points. Penichero only 2.5 seconds behind. Will probably pick that up, that last point up after the post-race penalties. And Hamasep at some point posted in chat that race cannot end in this game under safety car, which is probably why the safety car didn't come out for Neuro's incident.
And similarly for Spike, there wasn't even a VSC for that. Just as there's still a time at the end of the race. We come on to the final lap now, and there's just not really the opportunity for cars to have a competitive finish if you neutralise it like that. But Aliwar has definitely come off it.
Oh, so we've got Cruz, or was that Alan Johnson?
That was Cruz, though. He was up in P10 for a second there.
And it was
making a
Panachero that was on the grass on the other side of the track. So some contact there, presumably, between them was all kind of kicked off at the end of this race.
I'm shocked that they managed to keep 30-ish laps without very much incident at all, and now suddenly
And
mere
look how
people are
close.
diving some positions, and it's just not really working out. MJ
Look
and
how close.
Weltering.
Weltering is right up behind MJ Povey. MJ Povey's soft tyres will have started to run out at this point. So I think Weltering actually probably does now have maybe a shift towards the pace advantage. They are coming round for the last time, so there won't really be anywhere for them to overtake as we ride on board with Sidiris, who has done everything right, took the lead in the first corner and has basically never looked back as he comes across the line now to win the first race of Division 1 Season 3. Across the line comes our reigning champion, Silver Arrow, and Fraser, who maybe messed it all up. I don't know if that was a sign of frustration there, but that basically sums up his race. We don't go anywhere because we will have the opportunity to talk to some of these guys, and we know that Fraser will be in the post-race discussion.
I mean, that's what we were expecting at the start of this race. With that frustration, I'm not sure whether he's going to be in a very talkative mood. You might get a Kimi-esque interview there if we go for it, but we'll definitely have to wait and see what these drivers thought of this opening round of the season. For a lot of the drivers near the front, it was they were forced into consistency more than incredible moves. Obviously, MJ Povey being the exception there, making a fantastic overtake on Weltering. But further down the field, it was so tight, and in the end, there were a few incidents that seemed to have defined this race for some drivers. But your winner for race 1 and your current championship leader is Sidiris 18.
And one thing we didn't really, well, the game agrees with us, I suppose. Driver of the day was MJ Povey, 69% of the votes. That seems fitting. Thanks, Twitch. And yeah, well, a huge start for Red Bull. I mean, that is setting the benchmark. Not only is Sidiris pretty much led the whole race, flying under the flag of the world, which is nice. But MJ Povey, what a recovery. 20th to 4th in this division. That really is special.
Absolutely. I mean, I had a feeling that the alternate strategy would be powerful, but I was not expecting that from MJ Povey. I think he came in halfway through qualifying, sort of as a last-minute substitute, Hulkenberg-esque, and what a performance. Twitch chat has spoken, and with 35 votes, MJ Povey is your driver of the day.
Yeah, so I think Karim may have taken the position from Gabriel on penalties there right at the end. Weltering came across the line in 5th, Karim 6th, Gabriel 7th. VTech Panda, I think, kept his nose clean after the start of the race. He picks up 8th. Rid and Mario in the Haas cars round out the top 10 with the points. Fastest lap goes to Fast 6 driver, but he is in 12th, so he will not pick up a point for that.
So now don't go anywhere, because coming up we should have some driver interviews, and we'll also be discussing exactly what happened in that race. There's a lot to talk about. We'll see in a bit.
Hi, and we're back. We are joined by Fraser, sort of looking through some of the highlights in the background. Fraser, if you could talk us through a couple of the more memorable incidents with yourself. I suppose we'll start right at the beginning of the race. Anything in particular happen with you that caused you to lose the lead to Sidiris, or was it just a case of starting on the outside of the of turn 1?
No, I think it's basically just my signature bad starts. I had like the inside for turn 2, but I didn't hold it well enough. So basically he went ahead. I actually needed to catch a slight oversteer, which then led him or her, let them go through, which was quite unfortunate. I tried to hang with them, but like I was trying to see how much ERS they are using, like seeing if the lights are blinking. I didn't see any blinking lights. I was like, this guy is proper fast. Then I had like Silver Arrow breathing down my neck just completely all race long, until I tried to undercut him, but that didn't work out. I just managed to slot up behind him, which was quite unfortunate. But I think he really earned his P2, and the Sideris 18, he also earned P1.
Was there anything in particular on that undercut? Because you pitted maybe 2 laps earlier than the optimum strategy, or 2 or 3 laps earlier, to try and get that undercut. Was there anything in particular, any traffic that slows you down? Maybe your pit entry that wasn't as good as you wanted it to be, or did you not have the pace?
Well, of course you can say I didn't have the pace, because honestly, like Silver Arrow was really fast. But I think on my outlap, when coming out of the pits, I was just too slow. Like the Silver Arrow and Sideris both probably had so much ERS saved. I just didn't use any ERS in the in lap, which led to them like building a gap. I had complete clean air, so I should have been able to actually maybe get alongside Sideris, but that obviously didn't happen, which was really bad for my race, and that's why I basically ended up P3.
You spent the entire race with DRS nearly. I mean, the first half behind Sideris, you were very close. I mean, we were watching it 2/10 down to sometimes in turn 1. And then the second half of the race behind Silver Arrow, maybe not quite as close, sort of half a second, 6/10. But you were getting close to them. You were in that DRS, you were getting DRS. Is there any particular reason, maybe setups, maybe driving styles that just didn't allow you, or maybe it's the track, maybe it's just difficult to overtake around Brazil? Anything that prevented that overtaking opportunity?
Basically, what prevented that is I noticed how Silver Arrow always had like a better turn 1 and turn 2. So I tried to profit off of that. Didn't quite happen. But in Sector 2, the dirty air is like really bad. Like he was, I think, faster in the first stint than me, but like the dirty air just prevented him to actually overtake me. He also launched off of turn 9, turn 10 really, really well. So I had like a 0.8 gap towards turn 11 and turn 12, which was, yeah. I mean, he had better Sector 2 and a better Sector 3, I would guess, and I had like a better Sector 1. So not really anything I could have done, except for obviously being faster.
Fair enough. We moved to Spain next weekend. It's a track that not a lot of people like. If if you're looking for exciting overtaking in Formula One, Spain is not really the track that provides it. I'm not sure if you've raced around there. You certainly haven't in these division races. Anything you're expecting from there? Will overtaking be necessarily easier or harder than it was today? Is it a track that you like particularly much, or any other thoughts on that matter?
I hate that track, honestly. Starting off, I hate that track. I'm not going to like expect a really good race. Like it's probably going, like the overtaking is non-existent to like you actually need to touch cars so you can overtake actually. Like getting a clean overtake done on there, I haven't raced there yet, but like from the racing I've seen on YouTube and such, like the overtaking is just either you try to be respectful and you don't get the overtake done, or you bang wheels and maybe run the car a bit out wide and then get the overtake done. So I'm not really like hyped for the next race. I'm actually more hyped for Baku, which is a track I really like.
It's quite fitting that the Spain, being such a difficult track, is followed by both Italy and Azerbaijan, which are famous for their straights. I've been joined by Fraser. Thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations on the podium. Commiserations for dropping down after the pole position, but I'm sure you'll make it up in the races to come, and I hope to see you challenging for the championship.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
very
you, no
much for joining.
problem.
And that's
You
it from
are-
us today, guys. Take care.
You are
We'll see you for
so
the next
harsh,
one.
Mark. So harsh.